Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Backroom podcast. What is going on? Man, we are in week 5. This is great. But, dude, we've got a massive episode on our hands right now. This is easily, without a doubt, one of the biggest films talked about in the past 3 years or over the course of the past 3 years. And that's Zack Snyders Justice League. We all know what happened with that film. We all know where we're at with that film. But man, is it not only a monumental film to not only watch, but it is a monumental film to talk about. So I can't talk about this film alone. I got my friends from Cinespection and my friend Mike from Reel Cinema. Why don't you guys welcome yourself? John, go ahead, man.
Hey everybody, I'm John. Thanks for the intro, Ryan, from Cinespection. Gabe and I do our podcast over on the Painted Lines every week on Monday nights. And just check us out. And we're super excited to do this with you, Ryan. We've actually had you over on Cinespection, and I'm excited to hang out tonight and talk some Zack Snyders Justice League.
And now to the more pessimistic co-host of Cinespection, Gabe.
Hello. Yeah, this is for the pessimistic side of everything. Nice to be here. Besides Cinespection, I also have a blog where you can read more about my pessimistic takes. I think that's a good take on what I do. It's filmopinionitis.com. I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to talk more about the Orson Welles of the 21st century. So let's do this.
Oh man, dude, that's pretty climactic. But then we also got my friend Mike, also known as Reel School on Twitter. What is going on, man?
What's going on? I'm glad to be here. I think Gabe and I are going to be best friends because the mocking has already started, and I'm loving it. So I think it might be Gabe and Mike on one side, but yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this movie for sure.
Man, guys, the movie is finally here. Zack Snyders Justice League. This film is pretty much 4 years in the 2017, 4 years in the making at this point. And wow, it has been quite the motherfucking ride, if I have to say so myself, with the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut movement. We are finally here, March 18th, 2021. Zack Snyder finally got to release his 4-hour Justice League vision for this film that was completely abolished in 2017. But nonetheless, I just want to get everyone's general thoughts about this film. Let's just go in a line. Let's just start with you, John. What are your general thoughts about this?
So, this is a very difficult topic. So as a film itself, it's enjoyable. It is a good comic book movie. Do I think that it's the greatest comic book movie of all time? No. But is it good? Yes. Is it a far, far, far superior movie than was released in 2017 with the aptly named Justice League? Yes. Oh my God, it is so much better. I wish that Joss Whedon would have never even touched this. That being said, I've got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to flip it down to Gabe to give his couple set words of, that we haven't heard yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to disappoint Mike, but I really, really like this movie against all odds. I thought this was going to be just like VVS, 20,000 plot threads that don't go anywhere, just, 20,000 themes and things that for a movie that just ends with people fighting a giant cave troll. But that's not what it was. I think it surprised me in all the best possible ways. This is nothing to call out. This is unrelated to like the fan base and the some of the more aggressive fan base and the restore the Snyderverse things, which I'm sure we'll get to. But as a movie, I really loved it. But I can defend the Justice League 2, the 2017 theatrical cut if we get to that. So can't wait.
Oh boy. Okay.
Wow.
Well, maybe Gabe and I aren't going to be best friends, but we're close. I like this. We're kind of we're all over the place. No, it's all good, man. It's all good. Yeah, you know what? I love the point that you just brought up about a BVS kind of being so many threads that don't really go anywhere, because I still felt like that was kind of one of the biggest problems of the Snyder Cut, was the fact that we got introduced to a lot more and there was a lot more richness to it and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I still felt like Snyder kind of was a little all over the place, which is what he does. And it didn't take away from the film overall, but that's still, it's just kind of problematic of, his issues as a filmmaker. I think he's a better visual storyteller than he is an actual storyteller. So I did like the movie for sure. This would be the one version of Justice League that I would actually buy to watch again. And that's saying a lot. But at the same time, I think everybody is getting so caught up in this movement that we're not really seeing the movie that's still in front of us. So the fact is, yeah, it's significantly better, but that's kind of a low bar. Like the fact
the bar was super. The bar I was about to say that was like the lowest bar ever set.
Oh,
for
100%.
Like,
yeah, I mean, like and I'm speaking as a guy who was, I will say, a former Joss Whedon fan, at least the films that he made. Now, obviously, Joss Whedon has come out to be one of 2021's biggest monsters, and you got to kind of change your perspective on how people treat. There you go. How he's treated people in the past. And I definitely look at that with perspective. But in terms of the movies he's made, I was always a fan, and the TV shows I watched when I was growing up and stuff like that. And I won't necessarily defend Justice League, but I also hate the fact that people call it that at the same time. But it is what it is. But yeah, that bar was so low with that movie because it was such an atrocity that.
Well, wait, I need to make a comment on Justice League 2017 because people crap on it. They keep calling two errors in this narrative. One is to think that was the best version of the movie they could have made, and that's why they released it. That is not true. And two, blaming Joss Whedon because they were like, "Hey, Joss, can you come work here for 2 months? Here's a suitcase full of cash. Make this work and make it more like Avengers and make it 2 hours." And he had like 4 hours of footage. You saw the Snyder Cut. He had a very different tone from Avengers, and he just worked with what he had in a couple of months. So I don't want to like defend Joss Whedon as a person. I don't know him as a person, but as a guy who was hired to do a job, that is what he did, and this is the best he could have come up with.
I think I can put it perfectly. If I can jump in one time. Sorry, guys. But I was just going to say, like...
No, you're good.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
This is my claim to fame. It's that, like, weird thing where I get 6 degrees of separation. I tweeted about that because people were pissing all over this movie and have been for years since the original one. And I said, blaming Joss Whedon for Justice League 2017 is like blaming the lifeboats on the Titanic. Like, they,
yeah, I mean,
he did exactly.
I couldn't agree with that sentiment more. Like, honestly, you can't blame him. It was still a shit movie. Like, I'll call a spade, but you can't blame the guy. I don't blame Joss Whedon for Justice League being a shit movie.
Yeah.
I blame Warner Brothers. I don't believe that this was Zack Snyder's original vision for Justice League at all. Like, he had 4 years. Like, think about it this way, and I've said this before, and I'll keep reiterating this point. If you could literally look at what really did not work at all, and then look at your own critical failures in BVS, and then go, hey, here's another almost $100 million, go make it work. I think about anybody could make it work, right? Like, you have, everybody says hindsight is 20/20. He literally has 20/20 hindsight when he looks at how crappy Justice League was, how bad BVS was, and is able to actually cobble together something out of all of this footage. Yeah. So it's not actually that shocking that it's good because he learned from his mistakes, which is a big thing to do, I guess. But still, I don't think that this was his original vision for Justice League at all. I think that if Warner Brothers said that it was an unwatchable pile of garbage, you think that they would have put it in front of test audiences and done everything like that. So I think that there's some disconnect, and we're never actually going to know.
Yeah.
John, you actually touched like a massively good point into, I wouldn't say like a major complaint to this movie, but I would definitely say a complaint to this movie. So when we all found out that Snyder was finally getting his cut of the Justice League, finally coming to HBO Max in 2021, the first thing they announced was he was getting a $70 million reshoot. So instantly, as soon as they said that, I'm just like, there's no way this is his original vision. Because he had already said previously that his vision was already shot. I'm pretty sure he was done with shooting by the time he left Justice League, and a lot of it was post production.
Yep.
And this movie really shows where like those $70 million went. And I think the portions that you can definitely tell were reshot or just put into the film later, last minute, sort of, were the nightmare scene at the end and literally every scene with Martian Manhunter in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And I easily think that those two things can be simply put out of this movie. I think the earlier nightmare scenes where Bruce is having them, where Superman is kind of laying with Lois Lane's burnt body being held on him, and Darkseid comes and pats him on the shoulder. I felt like if this is like somewhat of the film we got in 2017, it would fit so much more perfectly. But now that it just almost seemingly seems like that we're not going to get a sequel to this film, it almost seems kind of pointless to have all this future movie build up and stuff like that, especially with the nightmare stuff. I want to know what you guys think on the nightmare stuff.
I 100% agree that it's worthless, but I don't think that it's worthless because they're not going to make sequels. I think that he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that definitely. He had a big enough fan base, and there's already talks now of them making more movies. So he put it in there to
get everyone riled up, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's like the biggest problem with this is you can tell where he wants to get the audience and the Snyder Cut movement fan base to really start pushing forward. And I don't want to, I'm just going to say this is my biggest complaint with the film is the biggest complaint for me in Zack Snyder's Justice League is everything in this film's buildup has no buildup. Every giant climactic moment just doesn't feel triumphant to me. I hate to compare this to the MCU, but even Zack Snyder confirmed that Warner Brothers was just trying to recreate the MCU after Zack Snyder's Justice League finally came out. They were trying to match tone. They were trying to get to the build-up. They even got the same director to direct.
Yeah.
Do the same reshoots.
Oh my god, that's the worst part. Like, that's the worst part.
How much more obvious can you make it? And the fact that they try to do that was their biggest despair. And as soon as this film came out and seeing what some of the talks between Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder, two completely identities at this point, is they both had different visions for where this universe were going. Zack had his own universe he was trying to build, and it seemed like DC and Warner Brothers were trying to build out their own universe. All of Zack Snyder's movies were what he wanted, and it seemed like DC and Warner Brothers just branched off of whatever he was creating. And then they finally kind of realized that, and they waved their finger and said, no, Daddy Snyder, this is not what we want. We want you to play by our rules, and that's how we got Zack Snyder's Justice League, pretty much. But yeah, Gabe, what are your opinions on all this nightmare stuff in The Martian Manhunter?
I think only to touch on the point that you were just making, I think although Zack Snyder has a big internet fan base, like most audiences were not into whatever the hell he was doing, with extremely dark takes and supposedly realistic looks into these characters, and that wasn't really working out. And I think it's even more to hang in on your point you asked me about. It's even more evident when you see how many pieces he just threw in, like, because the nightmare scene in BVS did not make sense, and you're like, okay, so I guess it'll make sense in the next movie, but it turns out it doesn't even make sense in the next movie either, because he's selling you in like 5 movies down the line with no plan to make them. I think the movie was great. I'm not a big fan of the first Martian Manhunter tease when he transforms into Martha Kent for some reason. I wasn't a big fan of that, but I was like, okay, well, that's how you tease somebody else. That's fine. Just make people wonder. But then the movie ends. It comes to a conclusion with Joe Morton's speech about being a hero and blah, blah, blah. And Superman opens his his shirt, and you see the Superman logo, and then it ends, and then you have 3 more scenes setting up movies that will probably never get made. That is, as much as I like the movie, I was out. And not only 3 scenes, but it goes on for like 20 more minutes. So I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of, like, he wants to start internet movements. I mean, that's fine, but I think Warner Brothers, it feels like they've realized that these movies do not transcend beyond the boundaries of the internet discussion. And then, families are not going to go see them. They don't sell enough toys. There's like, they don't have the toys in McDonald's or Taco Bell, as we were discussing yesterday. So I think that those were mistakes, and the problem is that Zack Snyder feels like that's why I make the joke about the Orson Welles thing. It just feels like Zack Snyder thinks he can't do no wrong. So if these scenes are there, it's because I have a bigger plan and the Snyderverse, and it's like, no, you don't.
What? But tell me what the bigger plan with the Joker saying that he gets a reach around from Batman is. Like, I had to bring it up. Well, there is no bigger plan there other than saying that Batman and Joker might have a sexual relationship in this post-apocalyptic world.
Well, like, what do you think about the fact that he was angry? He knows people aren't happy with Batman being a murderer in his movies, and he goes all in. He's like, I'm not only going to make Batman say I'm going to kill you, I'm going to throw the F word in there so that you see how, like, it's just like, I mean, I don't want to criticize the movie too much because I really liked it, but these are the kinds of things that I was just like,
Well, this is why Lowe.
Badass.
Yeah. Oh God. This is. I think Lowe said it best when we had him on our show a couple weeks ago. The movie up until the epilogue, great. Just cut off the epilogue. There was no reason for it at all.
Yeah. No. Not at all.
The epilogue just felt like it is the very obvious tacked on scene that they filmed during the pandemic, and it was not. It was just there to get people like, bro, Zack Snyders Justice League Part 2! Like, yeah. Bro, like, I'm sorry, but I don't think that's going to happen. But Mike, what are your thoughts about the reshoots and just the tacked on scenes in the Snyder Cut?
I think you guys are putting it perfectly. I will just say, I'll make the stupid joke that, well, we never know what the reach around joke was about because, quite frankly, he wanted to make a rated R Justice League. So maybe the next step was like, an NC-17 Justice League where, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's what he's setting up. He's like, let's see how edgy this can get, which is kind of Snyder all over. So, yeah,
wait,
I think
it's... Sorry.
No, sorry. You were going to ask about what the premise was?
No, I was going to say, what if his premise for the second one was...
It's just Batman and Lois having sex.
No. It's Justice League meets Showgirls.
Oh, God.
Paul Verhoeven comes in.
Yeah, sorry, Mike. Go ahead. I just thought it was the right moment.
You never know, guys. Warner Brothers might be listening, and they're pretty desperate for ideas. So this could happen. You guys kind of put it perfectly, and this was one of the biggest critiques that I had. Is you're kind of mirroring what I was saying about being all over the place without actually, being mean enough to say he's all over the place. Those were the scenes where I felt he's all over the place because, the Martian Manhunter thing took away a really nice scene between Martha and Lois. Like, that was character development for their relationship. And then you just know that Zack Snyder at the end was like, well, what if it was Martian Manhunter? And, like, everybody's like, well, okay, we gave him $70 million. So, yeah, go ahead and shoot it, Zack. But it never paid off. And so, those things that don't go anywhere within the film get even more frustrating, like you guys said, knowing that there's probably not going to be a second Zack Snyder Justice League. So I didn't even feel it was a tease. I just felt like it was a waste. And so we had this 4-hour long film where he didn't censor himself at all. So all of these reshoots getting to make pretty much a brand new movie, or at least a movie that added 2 hours to the original, whatever his original vision was. It's just he had ideas. They seemed like spur of the moment. Whether you want to call it 2020, John, he had years to think about it, right? But he just had so many ideas, and then they gave him a crap ton of money. They gave him 4 years to build it up inside of his mind. I say they, the fans, really did it for him. So he did whatever he wanted, and that's not always good filmmaking. So that's where this kind of mess comes in.
I think that, and this is like something I just thought of when you were talking. Zack Snyder is the Elon Musk of the film world. Like, he just gets a crazy idea, posts it on. He doesn't use Twitter, right? He uses something else.
Vero.
He posts it on Vero because he's too cool for Twitter, and then like all the fans on Twitter blow up and they start doing it. Like, it's the same crap that we see with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is like, "I'm going to make a flamethrower," and everybody's like, "Hell yeah!" Like, it's the same. Like, it's the same thing.
Okay, yes, but also like Elon Musk is an actual really smart guy. I mean,
Zack Snyder made that. Hang on. Hey. A broke clock is right twice a day, first off. And Zack Snyder did make 300, which was a good movie. So give him props where props is due. He was able to make a movie work.
And he made this one. This one's a good movie. Movie. Like, he keeps you interested for 4 hours. Like, I don't know if it works beyond people like us, comic book people, like, people that like these kinds of movies. I know I watched it with my girlfriend and she was like super fed up with this thing. But the thing, I mean, the movie worked. I mean, that's undeniable. I think the majority of people have liked it.
Yeah.
Gabe, I agree with you to a certain extent. The first viewing, I'll be honest, it kind of flew for me. But then once I came into a rewatch once or twice, man, did the movie feel like a bit of a drag to me, man. I tried rewatching it like a few days ago for this podcast, and it took me a while to get through it. I don't know what it was. I really do think that watching it the first time, I think I was just in so much awe and just kind of spectacle that we're actually getting to watch the quote unquote director's original vision, when we all know that's bullshit. As soon as this film came out, he even admitted that even studios and theaters wouldn't even allow him to put a 4-hour movie in theaters, which is honestly reasonable. To know that there's another cut of this movie with probably completely different scenes and a completely different ending just boggles my mind a little bit. But besides that, I find this movie, I can't find myself going back to rewatch this movie too often, especially knowing that this is where the entire story ends. I don't see Warner Brothers moving forward with Zack's storyline. Gabe, you put it perfectly. They realize what kind of universe Zack Snyder's like fan base is kind of in, I guess you can say, where it kind of only just relocates to Twitter and Vero, but that doesn't cut it enough to get people to go out and see a 4-hour cut in a movie theater, because that's eventually what this movie would really be if we didn't have the pandemic. Or hell, at the rate we're going, we might not even have this film because we might not have had a pandemic at that point.
I think that they would have had to put an intermission. The only movie that I've actually seen in theaters that was this long. Was it?
That was the only film that. Maybe Django Unchained.
What
I was thinking of, what is it, Gettysburg?
Hateful Eight.
So Gettysburg for me had an intermission. So like, there are some movies that exist in theaters that are 4 hours long. I think Peter Jackson's King Kong was damn near close. It was like 3.5.
No,
it was like
3.
So 3. It's funny you should mention long run times, because last night I was just chilling on the couch scrolling through like Apple Movies, and I was looking at like the Oscars best pictures of each year list that they always accumulate for each year. And dude, if I be damned, there are a shit ton of long movies out there, dude. The Lord of the Rings Return of the King extended edition is like 4 hours and 40 minutes, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's 10 hours to watch all of them.
Yeah, dude, it's like 10 hours to watch 3 movies all together. That's with all the extended cuts, because they're all like 3.5 hours long for whatever reason. But dude, I feel like that also goes into the point of, I think that's the biggest question of Zack Snyder's Justice League is, does this movie really need to be 4 hours long?
No.
If you really look at it,
no.
If Warner Brothers played their cards right, this movie should not have been 4 hours long. This movie could have easily just been Avengers length, 2.5, 3 hours max. But think about it. This film had to do origin stories, set up future films, set up villains. Like, bro, this film had so many different things to do. They had to set up the Flash. They had to set up Aquaman. And I know people will argue, oh man, but we already know Aquaman. I'm like, but put yourself in the perspective of watching this in 2017. We hadn't seen the 2018 Aquaman film yet. We don't know who this character is. Just because we've watched a film that is already comes out time wise after this film, we don't know who this character is. So they have to set up Aquaman, they have to set up the Flash, they have to set up Cyborg, they have to set up Darkseid, they have to set up Steppenwolf, they have to set up the Dark Timeline. Bro, there's so many things to do in this film that's the only reason that this movie has a justified 4-hour running. If this film didn't skip its first two phases, I guess you can say, or even its first whole phase of doing solo films for at least half of the Justice League. I mean, for crying out loud, by the time this movie would have came out, we would have only had solo films for Batman and Wonder Woman. That's an absolute joke when you have 6 Justice League members.
Yeah,
well, it's also hilarious when you mention that, like when you say how many things had to be introduced. If you think about it, the first 2 action sequences do not feature any Justice League members.
No, it's all Darkseid set up.
Yeah. It's the first one is the Amazons, and the second one is the Darkseid setup. And then it's not until that scene in the sewers that you get an actual like Justice League action sequence.
But that's because they never introduced a big bad villain in the other movies, and they did introduce a big bad villain, but they quickly discarded him in BVS, right? And that's the problem. And I've talked about this at length. Don't want to go down it too much, but they've ruined, like by ruining BVS, they inadvertently ruined what they could have done with Justice League. And what should have happened was BVS should have been cut in half. You shouldn't have had like the entire Doomsday storyline. And then you should have pushed all of that across another Superman movie, maybe where you introduce other characters. And then you stage out maybe 3 or 4 movies so that you're not introducing so much at once. And, to Zack Snyder's defense, and I don't come to his defense. I was about to say, I don't come to his defense often. Very rarely. I think he's a garbage filmmaker. I think he's horrible with characters. I think that, he overblows colors. But in his defense, like Warner Brothers probably came to him and said, Disney is kicking our ass at the box office year in. They've got 3 movies releasing a year. We want a tentpole franchise. We own DC Comics. We have for 30 years. You have 5 years to make us what Marvel did for Disney. And in his defense, there was no possible way to do it. DC was so far behind.
I cannot. We had this discussion the other day. I cannot agree with that. It doesn't matter if you do a small setup for the next movie. Like Thanos was teased several times, but Thanos was not established as a character, as a person. Well, not a person, what the fuck he is. But he was not established as that until Infinity War, which is the movie where he took the center stage.
So, no. He was established as Thanos in the first Avengers movie in 2012.
No, he was not established. Like, you saw his face, which was a different color, and nobody knew who the fuck that was. Like, even...
Everybody knew who that was! Everybody who ever read a comic ever knew who that was!
People were just like, who the fuck is that guy? He was like red or something, and just like, who the hell is this guy? And then, of course, it's Thanos, and then all of us knew who Thanos was, but he wasn't established as a character until his own movie. So you don't need 20 movies to do this. I don't think you needed 20 movies to do this. You just need to do it gracefully. Like the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring establishes a lot more characters in this movie, and it does it in the first one. Like
in 3.5 hours, and he extended it. I mean, come on now.
3 hours, exactly, and it's a lot more characters. Here it's six characters. Ryan was just mentioning the Hateful Eight. I mean, that's a long movie, but the Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction establishes, Butch and Vincent Vega and Marcellus Wallace and all of them. Like they establish it in 2 hours, and it's contained. Like by definition, here's something where I'm torn, and maybe you guys have a different opinion, but by definition, you do not need more than 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours to tell a story in film. Like you don't need to. Like that is not the medium, right? So
no, I agree.
Zack Snyder should not have needed 4. That being said, one of the best filmmakers in history, Martin Scorsese, just made a 3.5-hour movie.
I was just about to say, come on, Gabe. I'm saying, Martin Scorsese can't make a movie that's shorter than 3 hours, I don't think.
Well,
that's the problem. Shorter than 3.5.
That's my point. I'm torn because I don't know if I can justify his 4 hours or I can not justify his 4 hours. But, I mean, of course, comparing Justice League to The Irishman or Goodfellas or The Wolf of Wall Street seems kind of, wrong.
Well, that's it. I mean, the problem becomes that we're comparing an artist, like, let's be honest, with a painter. It's an artist and a painter. Like, that's the difference. And I've always said this about Snyder. Snyder is a man of visuals, not a man of vision. And so the fact that he was given this opportunity to create, quote unquote, the Snyderverse. I mean, like, I love that term more than anything out of his fans, because I go, what exactly was the Snyderverse? Like, what exactly did you think was his plan from Man of Steel? You think the man had a plan? Because no, he didn't. He wanted to make cool things happen, which is every movie he's ever made. You look at Sucker Punch; that entire movie is just cool shit happening, right? And the fact is, right? And then now all of a sudden he's given 4 hours. So I think we're kind of all on the same page. And I'd say the major difference between watching The Irishman and watching a 4-hour Snyder cut is that when you watch The Irishman, you never feel like things aren't earned. Like, when you're watching it, you go, oh, okay, I understand why he's doing this. Most of the things that I didn't like of the Snyder cut that I felt were superfluous was because they weren't earned. So exactly kind of what you were saying, Gabe, like, sometimes they teased Thanos, like it was enough, but they did that well with Darkseid in this movie, but they could have done it earlier. And I say they, I don't blame Snyder at all. I blame Warner Brothers too. So they didn't have to make solo movies, but to throw it all in one movie, like I had said earlier, it's kind of the problem they had with Batman v Superman, where they were like, hey, we're going to introduce like Flashpoint Paradox. We're going to introduce this version of Batman. We're going to give you this shitty version of Lex Luthor, whatever that was supposed to be. Like, it was just all of this stuff was happening. And I go, yeah, but why is all this stuff happening right now? Like, can't we build up one part of it and not have to do 70 different things? So, like, the issues with Martian Manhunter in the Snyder Cut was like, yeah, we've seen this guy before, but it was never teased that he could be the Martian Manhunter. And then we get the Martha scene where he transforms and you go, yeah, but why did it have to be then? And then at the end they go, some call me the Martian Manhunter. Like, it's just really lazy, unearned writing, right? Like, they couldn't think of any better way to introduce these things, and that becomes the problem. Because if you're going to just kind of tease them, sometimes great, build it a little slower. So yeah, I just feel like the entire Warner Brothers universe, rather than calling it the Snyderverse, is it's just unearned. They tried to rush it, and you don't have to do 70 solo films, but the fact is, yeah, you got to build it up a little bit more so it's more worthwhile, so it pays off. That's the biggest problem.
And Mike, you brought up a really good thing about the whole Martian Manhunter problem, about how he just kind of appeared. We never got any hints previously in BVS or Man of Steel that he could be John Jones, and you're just like,
yeah, he was just a guy. He was just
a
guy.
Out of nowhere, he just turns into Martian Manhunter. Like, okay. Sure, we'll let that one slide. Then he just randomly appears at the end of the movie, up to Bruce Wayne and says like, oh, now I feel like I should join the fight. I'm like, bro, you don't feel like you should have joined when Zod was recreating Earth to be his planet? Or when Doomsday, a thing that could only be killed, that could kill fucking... Bro, what else did you need?
That's funny, because that's the exact same thing. I will say this because I said it in my review. Here's the one thing I will definitely... just like defend about the 2017 cut is I loved the scene that Whedon wrote, because he did this with the Avengers, where the differences in ideologies created a little bit of conflict between the Justice League before they all like rallied together. Because you remember that scene?
Yeah, they got rid of that in this.
Yeah, where Batman calls Wonder Woman on her hypocrisy, where he says like, "Where have you been? Steve dies and you disappear for 100 years." And she pushes him, right? That's a really interesting scene. That's really good. Yeah, and they didn't do any of that here, where it's just like, we're all going to get along, and then this dark version of Superman is going to kick this guy's ass. I'm going to cut his head off, and we'll all be friends. Like, so that tension really works. And yeah, exactly. Like nothing felt earned. So yeah, it's the same thing with Martian Manhunter, where he appears and you go, well, dude, where you been for the last like 3 major battles? And it's the same thing that Joss Whedon brought up with Wonder Woman. So
no, and it's even worse because the motherfucker just goes and says, "Oh, this was the plan all along." It's like it fucking wasn't, man. Like,
Yeah.
like.
I mean,
well,
you also have to think that they added in the Batman Wonder Woman love affair thing, like the alluded to scenes throughout this movie, right? So, like in the last movie, or the Joss Whedon version, the 2017 version, you didn't have any of that. Matter of fact, you had the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And then in this, it's like, no, everybody's lovey dovey, and they all live in a perfect world, except it's about to be destroyed by somebody we've never met before. And like, yeah, Gabe, I get that you don't need 20 movies, but like 3 is not enough to give me arguably one of the biggest, baddest characters in the DC universe.
I think it would. I think it's enough. I don't see. I mean, if done gracefully, if BBS had been a movie centered on characters instead of plot, because it's all about plot. Like, oh, Lex Luthor wants to do this, and then the jar of pee, and then Doomsday, and then that email attachment scene that just doesn't fucking matter. And there's a whole action sequence. I mean, I don't want to get into BBS because that's not the topic, but there's a whole action sequence of the Batmobile trying to get kryptonite, and then he doesn't get it, and then Batman just gets it off screen. So he's like, okay, so I guess I just watched that scene for nothing. And in that sense, I feel like Zack Snyder learned or listened to criticism or something, because everything in Justice League either progresses the plot or establishes characters. Some things could have been caught. I mean, except for the things we talked about. But I mean, what do you think? I mean,
the very long list of things that we have now talked about that all suck about this 4-hour movie that has 6 parts.
Yeah, but if the Martian Manhunter scene had only been that scene with Martha and Lois, you've been like, all right, I guess that guy's going to be a big guy in the next one. And then the next one, if you want, that's a subtle, small tease. It's like Marvel has done that 20,000 times.
Right.
Yeah, but they do it well. There's a difference.
Yes, for sure.
I don't know if any of you actually knew this. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost 99% sure that I read this like a few days after the cut released. And Snyder himself had even admitted that Martian Manhunter was never supposed to be in this film. And everything that Martian Manhunter was in this, or whatever he was replacing, was supposed to be
Green Lantern of
this movie.
I saw that too. Yeah.
So it shows so much how he just wanted another Justice League member name to just show up in the film to push people into more of the more naggy, oh man, release the second one. We need to fucking see it tomorrow. ASAP, man.
Yeah. Oh man.
And they're doing that. I was just like, I have to get off Twitter every little bit, because like I just saw another like comparing, like, and this is gonna fire everybody up.
I totally left Twitter for the first few days that the movie came out.
Dude, I just saw somebody comparing the Zack Snyder Justice League to Infinity War, and I'm like, all right, no fucking way. Like, get out of here with that shit. Like, yes, this was a good movie, but get out of here with that shit that this is even close to Infinity War.
Well, but a small parenthesis on Twitter, I think people are too hell-bent on, like, pick one or the other, or which one's the absolute best. And it's like, to be honest, I like them both. I think Infinity War works better in many ways, but I like them both. You know, I enjoy them both for what they are, and they are not like the only thing that they have in common is people in tights. Other than that, like, just there's nothing else.
You're right. One has great directors. One has better CG. One has better. I mean, I can go through the list if we want to just
list. One has like 20 films worth of build-up.
Well, yeah. One has a woman sniffing a sweater.
Yes, exactly.
I wouldn't even go that. No, it's all good. I would just say, you know what, the biggest reason that Marvel has been successful is because they have a vision. It's because they have a focus. You know what I mean? Like, they knew what they wanted to do, and I give credit going back to like Johnny Favs when he directed Iron Man. They were building a universe at that point, and then DC goes, "Oh shit! How fast can we build a universe?" And so Zack Snyder, even with this cut, he's still trying to do the same thing. Ironically, he's not building the Warner Brothers universe, the DCEU. He's building the Snyderverse. But that's the thing is, like, you can almost call it selfish filmmaking, right? Now, granted, Disney is the ones making the Marvel movies, so God knows they're selfish enough that they want to take over the world with all the money that they make. But you know what I mean? Like, they're doing these things properly, and you're earning these moments, so that all of a sudden, that's why the fans will watch 20 TV shows in a year, 4 movies, just so they know everything about what's going on in this universe, is because we're just so ingrained in it. So Snyder tried to do that too fast with his 4-hour cut. Warner Brothers tried to do it too fast by making Justice League, pop in as their third or fourth movie, right? So that's the thing. That's the biggest difference is, like, again, if somebody stepped up in Warner Brothers, and I've been saying this ever since, I think it was when Wonder Woman came out, I was like, they need somebody to step up and be like, this is what we're going to do. And I couldn't even believe you had Christopher Nolan in your back pocket for all of these films as executive producer. Get the guy to help you out by setting up, like, here's a clear vision of what we need to do, because somebody's got to take the reins on that. So, and I still believe this. I think if they're going to be successful in whatever iteration they do in the future, they need somebody to step up and be the guy or the woman to really take control of this entire universe and give it that kind of vision.
Yeah, and I think that the big thing that you hit on there, 2 things. One is that the DC universe, right, is not built for everybody.
Right.
It's built for Snyder. And to take that one step further, my fiance loves watching the Marvel shows to the point where it's like Netflix level cheating if I watch it without her, right? Like, it is like I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Her watching any of these, she watched the last Wonder Woman when it came out, Wonder Woman 84, and she was just like, I'm done. And I was like, what? And she's like, halfway through the movie, she's like, I'm done. Like, I don't care about these characters. I don't have anything to say about DC. And if I tell her if it's a DC movie, she's not going to watch it. If I tell her, oh, we're going to watch a Marvel show or something, like, completely into it. She's watched all the movies twice. Like, and that has something to say about the fan base that Marvel has built. Mm-hmm. The problem is, and going to the Christopher Nolan thing, I could easily, and I don't know this for a fact, I could easily see Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan really butting heads.
Oh, yeah.
Because their direction styles.
They did with Man of Steel. Man of Steel was written by Christopher Nolan, and I feel like if you look at Man of Steel as a movie, it's an alien invasion movie, like really science based, really sort of serious, grounded. Not in the Marvel realm. But I feel like when Zack Snyder put his dirty hands on it, it just became this like melodramatic, extremely grim murderers, like where Superman became a murderer. And I feel like that tornado scene was Zack Snyder. It just feels like the movie had a good skeleton, and I still like it, but it could have been way better with somebody that wasn't Zack Snyder.
Christopher Nolan can't direct everything.
Exactly.
He has to make 5 more movies about time for me to sit around and watch. Like, I will watch Tenet over again. So anyway,
I love Tenet.
John, I think your girlfriend made an absolutely great point about Wonder Woman, the first one, 2017, about not being able to care or really connect with these characters. Because when we look at Marvel, I feel like I hate to keep comparing them to Marvel. First of all, it really sucks, but at the end of the day, we have nothing else to compare these movies to. But when you look at these two set of universes, these comic book movie live action universes, we have one film which is pretty much halfway through its MCU cycle at this point, with only 10 films under its belt, and we haven't even got our 24th MCU film, and at the time it comes out in 2+ years at that point.
Yeah.
So they're definitely trying to step up. And with the other Marvel films, I feel like since we've had going back to those solo films before getting to this giant team build-up film, is we don't know these characters. We don't know this story's Flash. We don't know this movie's Aquaman. We don't know this movie's Wonder Woman, because you can say anything you want about Wonder Woman 84. They are 2 different fucking Wonder Woman in my book, because they're not the same. One flies, one doesn't. Don't fight me.
But here's the thing. Here's where I'll because comparisons are inevitable. I think they're different movies. Like I said, they have nothing in common except people in tights. But like they're not really like the way Zack Snyder views superheroes is very different from the way the Russo brothers or Joss Whedon see superheroes. It's very, very different. It's really different focus. But I do think that movies need to work on their own. And for example, if you think about the first Avengers movie, 2012, right? You had most of the Avengers set up in their own movies. But then when they show up in this movie, they each have their introduction. So you have Tony Stark being quippy, and you're like, oh, this is the quippy guy, and this is the guy with a girlfriend, this is the guy with like, and then Thor shows up, and it's like, oh, it's the one with a brother, and it had been set up in the prior movie, but then when you introduce them here, you need to have something for audiences that did not see the others to kind of like understand what the hell is going on. And I think probably that's the one area where I think Infinity War sort of fails, because it just assumed that you know everything, because it just doesn't have time to explain 20 movies that came before it. And that's fine. I still love it. I love that movie. But in that sense, I think Zack Snyder only had the time to establish all these characters the way he wanted in 4 hours, because he is not the best at characters. And I think, John, when you crap on him, you hit it well. He's not the best at character work. He's actually pretty bad. He's not good at it. Yeah.
He's not.
When it comes to characters, though, I'm gonna bite my tongue a little bit on this one. Justice League 2017 had one of the worst incarnations of the Flash that I think ever existed, in my opinion. And I will give the movie that they heavily improved on that in this film. But man, I really do not think Ezra Miller was the right choice as Barry Allen, the Flash, because I was kind of hoping going into this film that it would completely change my mind, especially that he's getting his own solo film, which is I'm not even gonna talk about that movie right now because that's a fucking hand in a handbasket right now. But like, dude, I don't know what
the Batman multiverse movie, or which one are you talking about?
Bro, it might not even be that at this point because Michael Keaton doesn't want to go to London, so I couldn't even tell you. But dude, I definitely think they definitely improved on the side Justice League members, like Aquaman's story, on the Flash's story. I will admit the whole Iris West scene was pretty pointless.
Yeah.
Especially that she didn't come back later. I found it mainly creepy, and I don't know why he got hired at that job for dog walker, dog groomer, because I don't know about that chick. No matter how fucking fast you go, I can definitely tell you that a man did not just randomly appear in front of me to inside the dog nest, like almost instantaneous.
With a hot dog.
With the hot dog in his pocket.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. If
any of y'all watch The League, Pocket Dogs from Rafi's Pocket Dogs.
What?
It's a thing. It's a thing. It's from a show, The League, which you should all watch it if you haven't. Great show. But anyway, the guy Rafi carries around pocket hot dogs. So.
Yeah, I mean, to the point of that scene, I mean, I do think it's not the best scene in the movie. It's meant to introduce you to Flash and like, oh, this guy is fast. But this is where like Zack Snyder's lack of self-restraint comes in, because in the Whedon version, Flash was introduced when Bruce Wayne goes to his cave or whatever the hell Flash lives, with all the graffiti and stuff. That's how he introduces Flash. And then you see Bruce Wayne throw the Batarang at him, and there you see that he's fast. And you're like, okay, so this guy's the fast one, he's the quippy one, and that's all you need to know. The scene with Iris West, just it serves the same purpose. It doesn't really improve on the story or the film. It's fine because the guy was just like, I'm just going to throw everything in there, and it's fine. But as a movie, that would have been the first thing to get cut.
I definitely
not the sweater sniffing.
Oh God! What? Okay, let's talk about that. John, I know what you think, but Ryan and Mike, I want to hear what you guys think. What the fuck? What was that woman sniffing the sweater?
Sweater sniffing.
Can you fucking tell you? Bro.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea.
Like, what is? Okay, I think what I said the other day was I believe that's in there because to Zack Snyder, these people are like gods. You know, he sees them fighting next to Olympians, like next to Zeus and Hades, and that's the way he sees, you know, Cyborg and Flash and all these silly characters. So within that understanding, he believes that this woman would sniff the sweater because he's a god, and that's how he's like, oh, this sweater was just worn by. It's as if you said the sweater was just worn by Jesus, if you believe in Jesus. You know, like I believe that's what he's going for. It's still weird. It has no reason to be there objectively, but I believe that's why he did it.
You know what? Somebody had put it perfectly, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing what they had in the article, but it was like, you know, sorry, I almost said Whedon's. Snyder's characters. So yeah, I mean, even if you get past all the ridiculous like Christian overtones, is they're characters that need to be worshipped. Like they all feel, like you said, like they're gods, right?
Yeah.
But Marvel characters, and again, I'm not comparing. I think this is why it's unfair to compare sometimes. Yeah. Marvel characters seem like guys and girls like you'd go out for a drink with after. Like they're real people. You know what I mean? Like how many people have you met? Like Peter Parker, how many people have you met? That's like Captain America, who can like do amazing things, but he's still kind of like, yeah, you know what? I'm not that great a guy. Like this Superman never had that kind of irreverence. You know, the fact that he's like, Whedon tried to do a little bit of it, and it seems so out of place. If you guys remember in the 2017 cut, he had that terrible line where he said, I've always liked truth, justice, and the American way, or something like that.
Line. I love that line.
I like truth, but I've always been a big fan of justice.
Right.
I love that line. I love that line.
Of course you do, Gabe.
Superman.
Of course you do.
Yeah, it fits Superman. You know what it doesn't fit?
But it doesn't fit Zack Snyder.
Exactly. It doesn't fit at all.
Yeah.
I feel like Joss Whedon was just like, the version of Superman that he put in it has nothing to do with Zack Snyder's Superman. Like he's funny, he's quippy, he's nice, he's polite, he's a bit dorky, which is what Superman's supposed to be. But according to Zack Snyder, Superman's just a dick.
Right, he's a dark Jesus.
He just murders every bad guy.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where it's like, that sweater. I forgot about that, but it's the same thing with like the singing. You know, when they're, Aquaman's sinking back into the ocean, and like 3 Norwegian women are singing. Like I kind of go, what is happening right now? Like the Church of Aquaman as he descends into the water. You know, it's just like, this is not needed. And I'm not into this right now. And this would trim another, like, that was a 5-minute song, right? Like,
it goes on for 1 minute.
This movie has a lot of fat. This movie has a lot of fat to it that needs to like be trimmed. It's definitely true. And man, I really want to touch on these two big things that annoyed me that I really was wishing was a Joss Whedon thing, but unfortunately it was not. And it's Superman in this movie. In the original Justice League 2017 theatrical cut, I felt Superman's inclusion was literally only to help them win that fight, because they were not winning that fight without Superman being invincible pretty much to Darkseid. Darkseid was not able to hit him once, and when he did, bro, he did not flinch a fucking inch. And he just felt like he didn't feel a threat, Steppenwolf, once Superman came into the picture. And I feel the same thing with this movie. I felt like the Justice League were actually pretty evenly matched throughout this entire first half of the third act of them fighting in Russia. But I felt like once Superman finally came in and did that little climactic save for Cyborg while he was trying to hack his way into the mother boxes, after that, it just didn't feel like it was even a fight at that point. It just felt like Superman was just beating him left and right, which, fair enough to his point, is he's a god in their eye, and more than likely he is able to do that. But when a movie just shows that one person out of a league of 6+ people in this movie at the end of this movie just can beat him up by himself, it doesn't feel very rewarding. Sure, it feels rewarding to those people that are super diehard Superman fans, let alone Henry Cavill fans. Like, I don't know. It just didn't feel as impactful when they won, other than the whole cyborg scene of him confronting his past with the three mother box witches, whatever they were called, taking the forms as him, his mom, and his dad. I love that scene, but whenever Superman was fighting Darkseid, I just didn't feel like they were going to lose at any point. And I'm just like, wait a second. There was supposed to be a second film to this where they lost at the end of this film that leads into the nightmare stuff in the second film. I don't believe that for a second unless Darkseid came through. And even, I'll be honest, I didn't even find Darkseid very threatening in this movie, even with that whole giant cool set piece in the beginning. Like, yeah, he's fighting gods and stuff, but man, I don't know. He didn't fight a fucking Kryptonian in that fight for all I remember. So I feel like Superman can really kick Darkseid's ass in this movie. But you know what?
Without trying.
Well, also,
yeah, without trying.
Yeah, like Darkseid is destroying a planet, and the Green Lantern Corps just sent one Green Lantern. They're like, oh yeah, have that guy.
Like what the fuck? but no Kryptonian.
No Kryptonian. Oh, but wait,
well,
the Superman point.
It makes sense that there was no Kryptonian, because if you actually follow back to what's it, Dawn of Justice or whatever, if you go back, he gets his powers, he focuses his powers on Earth, right? Like, they didn't know that he was necessarily like Kryptonians. It's not known that just go to Earth and you can be a god.
No, like, he did know.
Like, Steppenwolf says a quote about it.
So I know, which doesn't make any sense.
No. Because Superman's parents knew about it. Like, even the mom says, like, they'll kill him, and then Russell Crowe responds, "How? He'll be a god to them." That's the line.
Yeah, but if you look at what Zod can't even control his powers on the planet because of the oxygen content or whatever the fucking stupid scientific line.
Oh yeah, that's true. The oxygen. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
thanks, guys. Yeah. I just rewatched all of this in prep for watching this, but yeah.
Man of Steel is. I like Man of Steel. I have too many criticisms of it, but it's good. But let me talk.
No, I mean, Man of Steel actually, out of all of these, is not bad. And the thing is like when you start to get into it, though, there are just so many contradictions where the plot line just doesn't make sense. That's one of my main ones. Is like, oh, so Darkseid and everybody else knows that the Kryptonian is there, and they even pointed out that the Kryptonian's there. But at the end of the day, why would they know that this one race of aliens, when they go to this one planet in the fucking universe, that he gets powers? Like, I mean, come on. Like, I'm trying to, use my imagination, but it's, like, so far-fetched. So, like, it would make more sense if, like, he was there and Superman comes in and puts up a good fight and they're like, oh, shit, there's a Kryptonian who has powers on Earth or something like that.
But let me talk about Superman as a character and let's see what you guys think. I mean, to me, that's my main complaint about the movie. That's what I wrote in my blog. Was
he was as useful as he was in the Joss Whedon version?
Yeah, but in Joss Whedon version, he brought a bit of charisma, and he was like, there's that after credit scene, which is kind of fun. Like, he had a couple things. Here, Zack Snyder has no idea who Superman is or what to do with him. He has no clue. He cannot control it. So I think his problem is that when he reaches a point where he's like, how do I make Superman compelling, or how do I make Superman important? Oh, I'll just make him a villain. And he turns him into a villain like twice in this movie. First, when he wakes up, he's a villain. And then in the after credits scene, he's a villain again because he doesn't know how to make Superman interesting. It's a bit frustrating, to be honest.
No, yeah, I totally get that. I feel like why even have Superman in this film other than going back to what I said before, being the only person that could actually defeat Steppenwolf. And to go back to what you said, John, actually, is I don't remember who said it in the film, but someone said that, oh man, the Kryptonian's finally dead. Now we can go to the planet. So what they're trying to make me assume is they never went to Earth is because they knew that the Kryptonian was on the planet. And so what you're trying to tell me is that not even Darkseid would even go to this planet because a Kryptonian is on it. They're all that afraid of Superman, but Snyder wants us to believe that he can turn him bad by killing Lois. I don't know. None of it seems to connect very well. Even when I try to put all the pieces together and try to form what Snyder's full 3 Justice League story arc trilogy is supposed to be at the end of the day. Because then they also set up Lois is pregnant in this film. Like, what the fuck?
Yes, what the hell? And then he said their child. I don't know if you read this, but Zack Snyder said that their child is going to be the next
It's going to call him
Batman.
Bruce.
Like, what the hell?
Yep. Like, bro, what? This is like the most sideways bullshit ever to just get fans to keep clamoring for your vision to go on. And I know he said multiple times that he's done with all this Superman or superhero DC stuff, which honestly, I don't blame him, dude, because this shit is a shit show in a handbasket at the rate we're going. But honestly, man, I do want to touch on the most infuriating thing for me. This is because I'm just a Flash fan, but man, I know I might get a lot of slack for this, but I really did not like his big moment time travel scene in the third act.
Oh, interesting. Elaborate.
Before I get into that, I do want to get your opinions because I haven't seen any of your opinions on this. So I'm really curious before I say mine. Maybe you guys will get me to retract a little bit. So, John, what is your whole thought process on the whole him going back in time?
I mean, I don't know that it was needed, right? It was added to build suspense to it. I don't think it was like a horrible scene, but just like we've talked about now for a while, it's the most Zack Snyder thing to do, right? Like, take this one extra plot line and try to attach it so that you might be able to have a movie a couple years down the road. I mean, it wasn't the greatest scene ever. It wasn't the worst scene ever. But I don't think it added anything to the movie, or I don't really think it hurt the movie, but it definitely didn't add anything by any means.
Yeah, Gabe, I'm curious to know what you think now.
I liked it. I mean, that's why I was surprised that, because I'm not a big fan of the Flash. I know you are, Ryan. I'm not really. I don't really care for the Flash, but I liked it. I thought it was set up right, in the scene where they revived Superman. It was set up that he could reverse time. And I think they also used it to use all the Justice League members, except for Batman, now that I think of it. But everybody has a hand in defeating Steppenwolf. So Flash runs and uses his power to power up Cyborg. Cyborg separates the boxes with Superman. Then Aquaman kills him with a trident. Then Superman hits him again, and then Wonder Woman cuts off his head. So everybody has a hand, and I think the teamwork was kind of like what they were going for, and I liked it. I think it was well set up, and it worked for me.
Yeah, what about you, Mike? What are your opinions on the whole big Flash moment in the movie?
Well, again, like going back to what you guys were saying originally about the Flash, I'm not a Flash fan. Ezra Miller's Flash, let's put it that way, in either version of this film. And I felt like, he didn't get the greatest jokes with Whedon for sure. And then, yeah, some of the scenes that he had, in the Snyder Cut, I thought were even kind of cringeworthy. But that was the one part where I go, yeah, okay, that's better. That's significantly better because it did give him a character moment. It gave him a hero moment, which he really hadn't had before that. Like, granted, he saves Iris, but like you said, it's kind of creepy. So it's a little selfish again. It doesn't really seem like he's doing it because he's a hero. It just seems like he's like, look at the hot chick with the convertible. Like, I'm going to save her. You know what I mean? Like, it was just something different about it. So this was kind of selfless. Like, this was an actual hero act. And what I liked about it is it didn't neuter one of your most powerful characters, which the 2017 version did. So all I'm going to say is by comparison, and this is why Snyder wins so many of these battles, is strictly by comparison. Because like we said, the bar is so low. Picture him having that little motivational speech like, okay, do this for everybody. Think about your past, present, future. Versus Dostoevsky, he pushes that stupid car. You know what I mean? Like, they don't compare at all. And so I think, I'm not a Flash fan, but I think people who are a Flash fan, they're going to get something out of that. But more importantly, yeah, it does. That was one piece that I felt, okay, they're really setting up the fact that, A, this guy has like godlike power, but more importantly, this is how he can use it And this is why that dream sequence in Batman v Superman was important, why the nightmare sequences, at the end of this movie are important, and what they can do with it. So I felt that might have been one of the only moments where Snyder says, hey, you know what? We should have a scene where he does this because it makes sense for everything else that I've tried to do with the Flash.
No, yeah. Honestly, I get where you guys are coming from. But man, dude, I'm about to go into a little bit of rant. This is the one that like bothered me a little bit. So going back to like what I said earlier about having solo films to like set up characters and stuff before we get to this big superhero group up film, I feel like was at least needed with the Flash, because with the Flash, he has so many different powers when it comes to speed. And I think time traveling is one of his biggest powers ever. And within this movie, they kind of just treat it as if he just knows how to do it. When we look at where he is in the beginning of the film, he doesn't even work for Star Labs. Like, the dude doesn't seem, honestly, all too smart, in my opinion. And they want me to believe that all of a sudden he knows how to do every single Flash power, because he would need to learn every single Flash power up until the point of learning how to time travel. And relatively, time traveling within the Flash is him just going super fucking fast. To put it into like easy terms, it's him going really fast. And it just didn't feel earned or rewarded. It just felt like, man, oh wait, this just happened. It feels like it gave him something to do, when I already felt like they were giving him a pretty good point in that third act with him running around in a circle in the Russian place and then having him hit the box or the mother boxes with Victor. But going to another issue with the scene is, how the fuck did the Flash get shot at when we know that everything in his point of view is literally going not even a meter a second, bro, like an inch a second, everything's moving. And you're telling me this alien shot him from God knows how many miles away perfectly, and he didn't even notice that a bullet was hurling towards him, when he, in his head, he's relatively in the speed of walking, but to everyone else he's going super fast?
Doesn't that seem like something
I don't
Whedon
believe
would
that.
do?
Well, he's hit twice.
Doesn't it seem like something Whedon would do? Because didn't Quicksilver get shot in Age of Ultron? You know what I mean? Like, it's the exact same thing.
I feel like that's a little bit different. This was more of a just random shot, right, and just trying to kill him. But at least with Whedon, Quicksilver did it to take the bullets because he didn't want Hawkeye to die with the kid, or the kid to die. At least.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
you know
I like
what
that.
I mean?
I like that. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, I agree with the whole like him needing a movie, Ryan. Like, when I know Gabe hates that I say that everybody needs a movie. Everybody doesn't need a movie, but
the Flash needs
one.
The
Flash does, because you can't. What they tried to do was pull off the Spider-Man thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and you can't do that for a character that's never had a movie, or at least not a blockbuster. Spider-Man has had, 5 blockbuster movies in the past 20 years? We know his backstory. That's why Marvel skipped it. We don't need to hear it again. But the Flash's backstory is something that we absolutely need to hear, because guess what? There's a lot of people out there that don't know who the fuck the Flash is. Okay, he's the Flash. He must go fast. That makes sense. But, it dries out any character development for him, because you don't know who this guy is. How can you really like him when you don't know him?
And then to add on top of that, John, not only is the Flash his own separate character, but I would consider the Speed Force its own separate character, because I know you guys don't like the CW shows, or at least I know Gabe doesn't, but the Flash is on season 7 and they're still explaining what the Speed Force is in certain aspects to this point since season 1. That should tell you how massive and detailed they created the Speed Force. Bro, the Speed Force becomes a physical person. That's not something you can just explain by saying, my powers obtained from this thing called the Speed Force. That's the only thing that we are told before the Flash turns back fucking time.
I agree with that. I mean, you've got to, not to compare again, because we do a lot of comparison to this, but you look at Marvel, how much have they talked about the quantum realm, since introducing it? It's been, I went back and watched all the movies during COVID. that has been talked about so much, and it's honestly not that big yet. It's not that big of a deal.
Like the entire first Ant-Man film was just them talking about it. They barely even touched it. Even in the final act of him going in it, that was nothing. They barely touched on it.
Exactly. Yes. So, like, Gabe, yeah, it was the entire point of Endgame, but it was talked about for like 4 movies leading up to Endgame.
Yeah, dude. I feel like that. That's why I feel like
I just
that
don't
Flash
see.
scene just pisses me off too.
I cannot agree that you need so many movies to set up 6 characters. I
like,
cannot.
Oh man, this moment rivals with so many different Avengers moments. Like, bro, no, it does not.
John,
this
are you
is
there?
nowhere near the scope of an Avengers level moment, dude. Like, yeah, visually, I think it was fucking cool. Like, I love the way that Snyder did interpret the way that the speed looks within the Speed Force and how it looks to him when he's running. I think that was all really cool. But other than that, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
Fucked.
I agree with you, Ryan. Like, they needed the Speed Force to be introduced. They needed Flash to be introduced. They needed all of these things to be introduced, and they didn't have them. So since they didn't have them, you had this, I won't call it a non-attachment, but like, was anybody attached to the Flash in this movie? Everybody here is like blaming the actor, which I agree, the actor's not the best guy for the cast, but
it's also not all his fault.
Yeah, exactly. I don't blame him. I blame the scripts both times. The scripts were terrible. Yeah.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. But dude, that Flash scene really irked me. And the fact that the first time I watched it, I actually didn't even notice the reason why he was traveling back in time. It happened so fast. Like, bro, I didn't even have my eyes off the screen at all. But dude, I was watching the movie. Next thing you know, I'm like, wait a second.
Well, the thing is that the Flashpoint movie equivalent has already been done.
I actually realized what happened. I kind of figured that they failed whatever it was
and
that
they've had
Cyborg was hacking into within the mother boxes. But like, I felt like it was so
times,
abrupt
right? He even
and
plays
just
Barry's
meshed
dad
in there to
so
get this cool.
I mean,
look, the
we're
Flash
getting
is
off
actually
topic,
something fucking useful.
I got disconnected for a minute, but did you guys talk about
this
Cyborg
giant
already?
moment? The Flash really wasn't useful other than getting Superman back to life.
I mean, what do you guys think about Cyborg?
I mean, we'll see. They're going to make a Flashpoint movie, right? That's what we hear.
Dude, they say Flashpoint movie, but honestly, I couldn't even fucking tell you at this point. No. We just bullshit about the Flash. But yeah, Cyborg's a good thing about. Nah, dude, honestly, okay, I'm gonna get some slack for this. I really like Cyborg in this film, but I didn't love him. I liked the acting. I thought it was well done.
I think,
but other than that,
the interactions with his dad,
I couldn't connect to Cyborg.
Giving him godlike technology powers.
How he really felt. Yeah,
it's
really
a problem sometimes when you give a character too much power. It's just like there's nothing this person cannot do, which is why it was that little scene with the lady that.
And stuff like that.
He helps.
They try to fit
it's like he gives her money,
worth of
but
that
only
stuff
$100K.
into
It's
this
like,
movie.
dude, you could have given her 20
like
million.
2 scenes.
Like, why only 100?
Like, it's only
it's
that was just like, you cheap bastard. But
I would say 3, but one of the scenes was just the scene from BVS again, just on replay over and over.
Yeah.
Take it from Zack Snyders account.
What about you, Gabe?
It's just to that lady. Yeah.
the money.
Yeah, he can destroy anything because they call them other boxes like technology so advanced.
Gazillion.
It's magic or something like that. And it's like what are you, Thor? But yeah.
While you're robbing the world's financial systems, make sure you give one person 20 million.
So that your movie doesn't seem like... because sometimes what movies do is like, why did this happen? Oh, because magic.
I know
it's like, how does this person have this power? Oh, because magic. And I don't have to explain it because it's magic. It's like, no. And these movies kind of like go for, it's technology, but whatever there's something I can't fucking explain, then it's magic.
Anybody would give
I
a
think that's what they were
random
going for. But a point I wanted to make is about Ray Fisher
destroy the world in the
and his performance.
Relatively.
I think he was competent in this movie. I just did not like his performance enough, and I don't think he has enough to carry his own movie or to carry this character forward.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a stolen line. They literally
drama that everybody knows. Let's not get into that. But what do you guys think about his performance and his ability to be a leading man?
Wow. I thought he actually got a shot to be a leading man, which is more than he did with Whedon, right? So I think he proved himself in a lot of respects. But once again, maybe it becomes a problem of the script. It becomes a problem of what he was given. Because, like, I know Ezra Miller can be a better performer than he was whatever he did with Flash. I thought, like, the character development was good for Cyborg. And I thought, like, yeah, Ray did enough with it. But I kind of liked... he was a little more brooding in the 2017 cut. So he hid a little bit more, which he should have. And that was the thing is, once again, this is Snyder being all over the place. It's a perfect example. And it's such a small, innocent thing that I think a lot of people can miss. It's the fact that if you remember what the 2017 cut was like when he and Wonder Woman met, remember he kind of snuck out from around the corner and he was wearing his hoodie?
Yeah.
And he was just kind of like, yeah, hey, what's going on? It's like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm really going to help you. And then the next scene, he kind of sneaks up on them and he's like, okay, listen, I'm going to help a little bit. It was subtly, it was kind of coaxing him out, right? And I say that not to make fun of that scene. I say it because, like, it made sense. Because, you know, like you said, he's kind of Frankenstein's monster. He doesn't feel comfortable. He doesn't want to be what he is, right? So he's a reluctant hero. And in this one, they just had this whole scene about how he considers himself a monster. And then literally 2 scenes later...
did you guys see the honest trailer for Zack Snyders Justice League? It just came out like 2 days ago.
And flies
they had a
in
great
like a
joke of
just, you know
like
what I mean?
Cyborg perfectly
and then there's no
explains
subtlety
the difference
to it. He does
between
what
Zack
Deadpool
Snyder
calls the
filmmaking and
superhero
Joss
landing,
Whedon
and he's
filmmaking.
like, he's not
And
wearing
it's
a
like
hoodie,
Joss Whedon
and he's just
and he
like,
says, "Booyah."
hey lady, what's going
And then
on? I'm
they
like,
cut.
whoa,
It's like
whoa.
Zack
Didn't
Snyder,
you
he's
literally
like, fuck
just
the
say
humanity,
he felt like he's a
humanity. Or
monster?
what does he say?
But then he's like, hey everybody,
fuck the
bright
world. He's
shiny
like, fuck
guy
the
in the
world.
sky. I'm going to turn off all the lights so you can see me even more. Like, it didn't make any sense. So this is exactly what I was saying, you know, problematic with Snyder being all over the place. But yeah, I think like Cyborg was good, like significantly better. And, you know, character, development was great. But yeah, there's so many inconsistencies with all of these characters that it just kind of ruins any good that might come out of them.
Nah, no.
Yeah, perfect.
That is how you distinct them. That is how you distinct them. But going back to like the whole cyborg storyline, there's something that kind of threw me for a twist. So when it comes to like the relationship between Cyborg and Silas, his father, in like all adaptations, they either take it one of two routes. They're either super friendly with each other, or the dad just wants the best for his son, or the father's an absolute dick to his son, but still wants the best for his son at the same time. And with this movie, it feels like Snyder tried to do both of those. And I don't think it really worked out. When you first get introduced to Cyborg and you start seeing the flashbacks to the accident that caused his mother to die and for him to become into the cyborg suit and stuff like that, it's kind of interpreted that, man, Silas isn't around. He's kind of neglecting. He doesn't care about his son, yada, yada, yada.
I mean, I
And
liked
then
it.
he gets into this accident. But even
I
before
liked it.
the
I
accident,
especially
in one of
liked
the
that we got a
scenes
lot
where
more of Joe Morton.
he's talking to Silas,
who's,
you can tell
you know,
that
he's the guy you
Silas
get when you have
wants
dangerous
to be there.
machines,
I don't know if it's
you
by the
know,
way
problem
the
with dangerous
actor is
machines.
acting or the way Zach wanted to direct the scene and get
I
a
thought the
different tone by
dynamic,
flipping
it
like,
worked for
oh,
me. I
now
get what you're
look,
saying,
your son had this
and
horrible
you know,
accident. Maybe
fair
you should
points,
start
but
being a
it worked
father
for
and being
me. I
nicer
like the
and stuff like that. But
absentee
like
father thing.
throughout the
He had
entire
that
time
scene
of
that was like pretty memorable, which I
Cyborg
was
coming out with the
against
mother
really
box,
surprised by.
or the
Well, I
first
mean,
time we see him
supposedly he
in
heated
their
up the thing or
apartment
something, but I
to
guess if
Silas's death, it just feels like they went
yeah,
through a whole
yeah, oh
family
yeah,
arc without
but
actually going through
yeah,
it
that's a good.
within
Also,
their
a door
emotions
that
towards each other.
Steppenwolf could have destroyed with like a half a swing. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like. Oh
But
yeah,
was also pointless.
but that's true. Every one of his
Yeah,
movies in
but
the trilogy
why did he
has
have to do it
a
with the
dead
door
father
closed?
figure. Like first he has Kevin Costner, and then uh, Thomas Wayne, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, which is
See,
still
that's my
weird to
point. The
see.
door created
That one's
no
terrible too
barrier
because he makes it
anyway.
so
So why
that
even
Jeffrey
bother
Dean Morgan
closing
tries
it?
because he
And
tries to fight
I
the.
know
Anyway,
like
that's
Victor and
BBS.
Cyborg
But
was in
yeah,
mental distraught and
what is he like
distress
killing
that his father was
parents? What's
locked
wrong with him?
behind this
I don't know.
thin layer glass that he more than likely could have just broke through and flown in and saved him at the last second. But no, fuck it. Let's just let him
Yeah,
die
yeah,
because
yeah,
dramatic death
yeah.
by Zack Snyder.
Another dramatic
The
father death too. He's got a thing about fathers sacrificing
the thing is that the
themselves.
guy's
I don't know what
It's
answer,
like
I'm
that's all
sure, would
it's
about,
like
be
a
man.
like,
death
"Oh, I just
fetish at
thought it
this
was
point.
cool,
It
you
is.
know, dramatic." Like because that's the way he talks, you know. Like when you listen to him, he's just like, "Oh yeah, that looked kind of awesome," you know. Like,
Right.
that's the kind of guy he is. Yeah, exactly. He's just like,
Right.
"Oh yeah, that's kind of cool." It's just like, whatever, man. But I like the movie.
But it's not even killing. It's the dad's always sacrificing himself too. It's a very specific thing, man. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
Snyder, what are you trying to fucking tell us, dude?
Right?
Come
What
on.
happened to
Don't
him?
make me wait for another Zack Snyder cut too. Yeah. Now Snyder's like, what if we just took this and flipped it on its head? Honestly though, no, yeah, you bring up a good point. I know we've been talking pretty negative. I don't want to say super negatively, but like we've been pinpointing a lot of its down points. I definitely think this movie does have some good moments in it. Definitely, as we've all said before, it's just an overall massive upgrade from the film we got in 2017. Yeah, when you really look at the film side to side, they both have the same stepping stones for point of interest in the film. They all relatively play out the same. They're just connected differently, I guess you can say. But I think Snyder does it in his own way, in his own taste, that makes it actually quite refreshing to rewatch. Because even though when I was watching, I'm like, man, dude, I've watched this like a few times with the Justice League cut back in 2017, but I feel like the extra stuff that Zack did have added, tacked onto the scenes, did make those scenes a little bit more worthwhile compared to them kind of just abruptly ending in the 2017 theatrical cut. On top of that, I really gotta say, I really appreciate Snyder kind of going the more,
yeah, that
I don't want to
was
say
better.
gory, the more
That
heavily
scene
broody
was
route when it
pretty
comes to his
annoying to
action.
watch
I've always said
in
that,
the
man, if someone
theatrical
hits someone
cut
with
because
this
it just
axe in,
looked
let's
like
say,
it
a
was
Marvel
cut like
film,
shit.
and they just
The
get flung to the
special
side,
effects
hell,
weren't
they
fully
even did
rendered.
it
It
in
just
the
didn't.
Snyder,
And here it
not
looked
the Snyder cut, the
amazing.
Justice
I
League
liked it.
theatrical cut with Steppenwolf. They kind of just, everyone just flies to the side. But dude, in this film, I appreciate Snyder shows that, man, these weapons actually do damage to obviously the side characters only, but that's besides the point. Like when we look at the Themyscira scene, dude, from when we compare it from the theatrical to the Snyder cut, is they're a lot more brutal. The scene goes on for a lot longer. And man, dude, Steppenwolf is chopping up these chicks like no tomorrow, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I agree.
Yeah, I thought that was actually one of the better scenes in this movie. And the action sequences in this movie were good. I can't actually say that I have any real issues with the action sequences in this movie. My main complaint about the movie is the inconsistencies with characters across this so-called Snyderverse, and the fact that like we get all of these extra 2 minute scenes here, 3 minute scenes there, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but man, does it add up when you're talking about a 4 hour movie. And Ryan, I think that's why it. You said you go to watch it two or the second or third time.
It's a drag.
You don't need those scenes. You know what I mean? Like you don't. You just don't need them, and then those make the movie drag.
There,
So
a lot of those scenes, John, are just set up for the next film that we're never gonna get.
yeah,
That I honestly I feel like that's why the movie feels like such a drag compared to the first time. Is the first time we're going into a 4 hour superhero, I guess you can say epic to this point, because 4 hours, it has to be fucking epic at that point to be 4 hours. I mean, look at the Lord of the Rings, for crying out loud. But we're not comparing Lord of the Rings to Zack Snyder's Justice League because that's incomparable, obviously. But that's besides the point. Dude, I can't tell you how glad I am they got rid of that red refurbishment in that whole entire third act, dude. Dude, talk about taking a shit on a film reel and still putting it to play.
yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, honestly, I don't really have, I don't know, the good things. It's hard to say whether they outweigh the bad things, but retrospectively, I really do enjoy this movie. I don't think it's a majorly rewatchable film, though. Do you
Here's the
guys really
thing.
think you're gonna go
I'm gonna
rewatch
surprise
it or go back
especially
within the
Ryan
next year
and
and be like,
John, but
oh man, I'm gonna
I would
rewatch
watch
this
it
in a
again
total
right now.
4 hour
Just
sitting
talking
span.
about it makes
Not
me
a
want to watch
chance.
it again.
Not a
I
chance
really
in hell
enjoyed
I'll
it.
ever
I mean, of
rewatch
course
this
it has
again.
problems.
No.
No
And I mean,
movie's perfect.
again, my perspective,
but I really
you can do
enjoyed
the
it.
first time you view it, and you go,
I
it's
liked it. I
significantly
thought
better.
the chapter
curiosity gets
headings,
you, but
were kind of
I
cool.
can't
And,
even say
maybe I
ever in
can
a
skip the
mood to
last
really
20
rewatch
minutes,
a
and
lot
that's
of
fine.
Marvel movies either, to be brutally honest, right? But there's tons. It's just too much. It's too much Snyder for me. It's too much. 4 hours is too much of anything. But my curiosity is quenched at this point. So no, I don't think I will ever. I won't buy a copy, and I will not probably sit and watch it again.
Yeah.
What do you mean? They're all lines. They're all lines.
Really?
Don't count on it, Batman. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what Aquaman says. Right before they
I would
sniff
have
his
liked
sweater.
the chapters if they actually put them down fucking below, so I didn't have to watch the entire film. I appreciate that they put like the pinpoints and stuff. That's nice. But dude, can I just have like an instant go to it on the exact second you want me to watch it at? Like, I feel like that'd just be so much easier. I'd just
Yeah, I
be going
saw
back
that.
to the
Yeah.
last 2 chapters just to watch the fight scene and watch Steppenwolf just get his head chopped off.
And don't forget that the chapter names, like the title cards, make no sense. For
No,
each
the
of
7th chapter was the
6
speech
The
of
only-
the
the
after
only one-
credits.
The only
Father
one,
twice over.
But they
They're
kind
all
of pick the
lines.
worst lines sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, what's the very first one is like, "Forget about it, Batman. Don't count it." That's such a terrible line. Like,
That's a
what do you-
cool one
Bro.
because it has that extended flashback. That's a good one.
you
Let's
know
go
what I
one by
found
one.
super funny?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I found super funny about the chapters is I don't know if you guys remember this. Zach did like a mini interview with Grace Randolph right before the Snyder Cut came out, and he's like, "Guys, I have a surprise for you. There is another chapter to this film, bro."
Oh yeah.
People went fucking ballistic. There was a 7th chapter. What could it be?
Yeah.
Brrr, the title cards.
No.
The epilogue.
Father.
No, was it?
Yeah, Father Twice Over is the 7th. It's I pulled it up so that we could say it. Don't count on it, Batman. The Age of Heroes. Beloved Mother.
I think
Beloved Mother, Beloved
It's
Son.
a cool
he's trying to do
scene,
Watchmen.
but plays
You know,
no-
if
no
you guys
reason
read
why.
Watchmen,
What I'm saying is
I
none
think
of
that's
these
what
have
he's trying to do.
bearings on what's actually going to happen.
Different
And
levels
not
of
only
success.
that,
I
like,
liked it, but
look, I
get
know the
your
Russo brothers
criticism,
use
for sure.
title
I mean,
cards,
I understand.
but in Infinity War, they actually put
He's
a title
not.
card that
He's
said
not.
space to make fun of. They did that on purpose to
He's
make
better.
fun
I'm
of
just kidding.
themselves. Like, there is nothing about this in these title cards that make any sense to me. All the King's Horses, Something Darker, Change Machine, and Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. These say nothing about the chapter. Like, what's actually going to happen, what it's prefacing, anything like it's just really, why break it up like that? Just call it chapter fucking 1, chapter fucking 2.
They should have.
He is trying to do watch. He's not Alan Moore, okay? He's not. He can't do Watchmen.
Nah, you know what they should have named the first chapter? They should have just named the first chapter. Wait a second, I think Wonder Woman actually did blow up those schoolgirls she just saved. That's what they should. That's what they should have named it.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the dumbest scene ever, which is that. I'm going to save the building from blowing up with a bomb so that I can blow up the building.
Bro, I'm sorry. I don't know if it was the way it was filmed, but dude, that bomb looked like
Also,
it blew
if it's
the
gonna
entire
blow up
floor.
4 blocks, why get in the building?
Sorry.
Just do it from
I
the
don't
street.
think for a second that Wonder Woman's shield just completely capacitated that bomb spread from going to like at least 25 to 30 people behind her.
Oh, everybody's dead in that building except for Wonder Woman.
Should have been dead in there, but Wonder Woman.
Yeah, 100% agree. And the other thing is that bomb that fits in a suitcase, and I hate getting really nitpicky with movies, but they say that it's going to blow up a 4-block radius. This is also like when they put $10 million into a duffel bag. You can't carry $10 million. You also can't make... You also can't make a fucking suitcase bomb that'll blow up a 4-block radius. That is called a nuclear weapon. Just throwing it out there, okay?
If we're getting... Why don't you think it'd be more threatening to not tell him how many blocks it's gonna blow up? Bro, they know it can blow up the whole fucking city.
These are also the same guys.
4 blocks, you know what? That's just in some insurance. We'll write off. Bro.
These guys literally called themselves terrorists. Remember that? The guy was making a vote, and he's like, "I'm a terrorist."
I think
I'm like,
it's over 10%.
What terrorist says they're a terrorist? Like, they never, right? I couldn't believe
John,
that one.
If we're nitpicking this, this film does what a lot of other films do when it comes to ticking time bombs and making you feel like, oh man, are they going to make it? It's making the seconds longer than they actually are. Bro, I shit you not. Wonder Woman is flying in the sky, throwing that bomb up for a good 3 seconds. By the time that bomb is at like half a second.
It shows you.
I mean, come on now. Zack Snyder loves slow-mo.
Like, this is in slow-mo because something dramatic is going to happen.
Or movie
because,
percentage of slow-mo in this
really
film. 10% of this movie is in slow-mo. That's
like,
fucking ridiculous when this movie's 4 hours long. Dude. I honestly, I think it's 20. I do think it's 20%.
Yes.
Dude, everything is in slow-mo.
No, I disagree.
It's so
300.
good.
300. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's exactly it. You remember the Flash scene?
But I think
so when he saves Iris, there's like a 5-second shot on a friggin' poppy seed, or no, a sesame seed off of the hamburger. Remember that? And I'm like, why the fuck are we watching this right now? That's exactly it. And I will say that, having seen The Matrix in theaters, like, being a teenager when I got to watch that first one in theaters, it hasn't been used well since 1999.
No,
so we can move past this look. Really? Yeah, but that was like the first time Snyder used it.
Also, I don't necessarily. There are scenes in 300 that it was used okay.
Right.
There is way too much slow-mo in 300. There is literally 30 minutes of slow-mo in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, so did sepia tones, but it doesn't mean use them all the fucking time. It's an Instagram.
Yeah. Snyder really confused you guys. You thought the title 300 was for 300 men. No, the title was the movie being played at negative 300. That's what it's really meant for. But dude, there's something that I've been wanting to talk to people about because I have not really expressed my opinions on Twitter at all about
also
this
in slow-mo, by the way. Also in slow-mo, by the way.
I feel like I could have missed easily, which is why I want to bring it up on the pod right now. But when it comes to Superman being introduced and the opening of this movie, doesn't seem to connect very well. If we go back to BVS, the ending is some type of implication or hint that Superman is still alive or he still has power in him. And when we watch him die, I don't remember if we really saw those sonic waves that he makes when he dies in the beginning of this film, when they kind of do like the rewind. Oh, this is what you missed last week type of thing. Because fuck, it's been like 5 years. Like shit,
sound waves
like Twitter
opened the first mother box.
Bro,
that's the way I interpreted it.
He acts like Twitter doesn't fucking remind me of this moment every other day. Like, bro, you don't need to put this in your movie. Twitter already does this for you. Like, relax, please. But dude, okay,
you didn't like that? That's my point. Like that.
The sound waves, they only add to give more of a reason why the Steppenwolf is coming for the mother boxes on her. But man, when you put it in context of the ending of BVS
I was just like, yeah, because
and to how they bring him back, none of it makes sense other than the mother boxes. Am I imagining this, or please someone tell me I'm wrong? But like, I don't know if the sound wave is just one sound wave with the way the movie's edited, or if it's multiple sound waves.
Hang on, I got a question, and just as this is my stupidity, maybe. Does Superman also have super yelling abilities to go along with ice breath, laser eyes, flying, super strength, and super speed?
I thought he did. Yeah.
Yeah, he has like a Sonic voice, I guess you could say. No,
Three movies by the
I
same
think
director and
I wouldn't take
mostly the same
my
writers.
opinion
Yeah.
100%, but I'm pretty sure
Well,
he
he
has like
wrote
a
all of them.
Sonic
Yeah,
voice.
at least a part of them.
But like I said, none of it like really connects other than to explain why Steppenwolf is coming for the mother boxes on Earth.
Yeah.
It doesn't connect into the end of BVS, and then it doesn't connect to how they bring him back.
Well, I mean, you can't connect into the end of BVS, but that's for a whole nother podcast. But like, it just these characters they don't connect, and like we, bringing this up over since we've been talking, like the more I talk to you guys, the more I realize how much disconnect there is from Superman all the way through Justice League. Like there's so much, and we're only talking about 3 movies, and there's so much disconnect over 3 movies. Like I get it. Yeah.
But John, I want to
Everyone's-
touch on something you just said about not being able to like connect the beginning scene of this movie to like the end of BVS. When I kind of want to argue that because at the end of BVS, it's never really shown that he makes that sonic wavelength when he dies, or at least like we're not being told or aware that's happening. So it kind of feels like that they might have just
but the
added
box,
it in
the box
this
that
movie
was
to
opened with
explain
Superman's
why the mother
sound
boxes need to
waves
be in this
was
film.
the Amazonian
Like kind of
box.
a retcon, but not really a retcon. You get what I'm saying?
No.
I get what you're saying. What I don't understand,
even
and
Aquaman,
this is
or
maybe I'm missing
goes
something.
to
So the mother box was
there's a scene of
turned
Mira,
on
in the
to create
whatever
Cyborg,
room, Atlantean room, and the box is not
So
activated.
what-
It's not
So
actually
that had to have
activated if
happened
Steppenwolf shows up.
before the
He
sonic
even
wave
tortures,
in BVS because we saw the video
What? Sorry?
in BVS of Cyborg.
So what I got from it is I think Silas somehow figured out how to like awaken it and then use its powers, but like you're saying, it's not explained or it doesn't connect well. Like,
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like there are all these little pieces.
no, it was all three.
was all-
All
Yeah.
3, yeah.
It was all three. Yes, it was.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. It is a bit confusing. I mean, that calls into question why the hell that email attachment scene was in BBS at all. Yeah, like that was stupid.
It activates for Cyborg. It activates for Cyborg because the way it goes is scene is it opens for Cyborg, then it's the Atlanteans, and then we get to the Themyscira scene of them fending off Steppenwolf for the first time. That's how those scenes play out. And I know for a fact the first one opened when that sonic wave went through because Victor had more of an awareness to what it was, to where it was, or it being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my point. It just seems like a whole big contradiction for no reason. Like I feel like Snyder is trying to make this super complicated, empathetic superhero story that doesn't work in context of what he's created in the past. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to bring this up, but before Wonder Woman 1984 came out, I remember Patty Jenkins was very heavy telling the supporters of her film that Zack had a lot of input on where Wonder Woman went, where Diana went. Bro, if we look at the film, she fucking flies in that movie. She doesn't fly in any of Zack's movies. So, like, the disconnect is just super unreal to me. And it just goes back to, like, why should we have to try and figure this out? Like, bro, last time I checked, when I go to a movie, you should just tell me everything. I shouldn't have to go home and do homework unless I really want to and start really going to the deep and thick of things that you make for people, for those diehard fans.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think that it's a little ridiculous that you basically need a PhD in DC Comics to kind of get all of the plot threads that Zach wants to use. And then even then, like, they don't make sense
Same.
because they don't go together. He's pulling from, different
same.
multiverses
I would be
and everything.
curious.
It doesn't work.
I just don't want
I
it to
mean,
be
I like the
pushed
movie. I think it's a fun movie.
by
And like the
whining
more I talk
people
about
that
it, the
have a
more I dog
million
on it, because that's
bots
just kind
to
of
push
what
a
we
hashtag
do
going
when
and
we
going.
dig into
I don't.
something too much. But that being said, like, I don't
Yeah, but
really
I
want to
think
see
Warner
another Zack
learned from this.
Snyder.
I think somebody got
And like,
fired
this is
because they
probably
spent
a
$70
good next
million
topic, Ryan.
on
But like,
this.
I don't want to see another Zack
I think that
Snyder
was unreasonable.
Justice
It
League.
doesn't matter how well
I don't
it
care to
does.
see
Like,
any more
you
Zack
don't
Snyder
spend
movies. I don't
$70
care if he
million
ever makes another
on the director's
superhero movie
cut.
again.
Like,
I'm over the Snyderness out
John,
there.
you're asking the questions of the Saints right now.
right?
That's
Well,
all I'm
because it was
saying.
4 fucking hours
I'm with
long
you.
and
I
R-rated.
don't want to see another
Like,
one.
it's just
But I'd
it's
be
like
lying if I said I
somebody
wasn't
got
at least
like
curious
the opposite of a pat in the back for
another
like
one if it
spending
was
$70
ever
million.
announced.
Like when Richard Donner
That's how I see
made
it.
his Superman 2 cut, he had to use scenes filmed by another director, and they had to
But
really
I feel like that's the only
low
way this film
budget the
will
whole
ever get made at
thing,
this point,
and they had to
unfortunately.
use a screen test for a scene because they couldn't like reshoot it, of course, because it was 30 years later. They just worked with what they had. And here Zack Snyder was just like, no, I need the best special effects guy. I need to reshoot a scene. I need to do all this.
Not
and
even 70 million. This
that was
movie
too
didn't
much.
even
I
pull
think
in the same
the movie looks amazing, and I'm happy we got it, but I think it was too much for what
bro.
it was supposed to be.
Yeah, what about you, Mike? What are your opinions on like seeing the future of Snyder and like the Snyderverse, quote unquote?
You know what? As a guy who I've defended him in the past for being what he is, right? Because that sounds negative because I've been picking him apart. But everybody has a place. I mean, I believe like everybody has a place to make a film, and I was at least happy for him because he had a shit time with a studio that didn't have their shit together. His daughter committed suicide. Nobody deserves that. Nobody. And he seems like a guy who is genuine enough. He's not afraid to at least be himself. And you got to respect that. But my curiosity for what he can do with this franchise and these properties was at an end before this, let alone now. Right? So to me, yeah, okay, the fans get behind it. And I'm also all for positive fans making a positive movement to get what they want out of studios that they invest hundreds of dollars in, right? Hundreds, if not thousands. Because these studios can't afford this stuff. So I think, yeah, it can be positive. But while we're being honest, let's be honest, the Snyder stands out there, and I mean like the hardcore ones, they're not nice people. They're not good people.
No.
You know what I mean? Like they're dicks, and that's saying something. That's really saying something for people on the internet. So it's just kind of like, hey, listen, guys, you got this thing. You got this 4-hour like opus out of this. Let's all be like happy. And now they're like, well, fuck the world. Release the Snyderverse. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay, enough. Like, let's settle down. And I don't know. I can't get behind anybody being toxic. As much as I'm making fun of this movie, I'm not like this when it comes to people who enjoy this film. I'm not like, well, you're an idiot because you enjoy this film, right? Like that. Let's not be like that. But so there's a lot about this that I'm done with it. I'm tired. I've had enough of it. Warner Brothers seemed like a very toxic environment for so many reasons, stifling creativity of, somebody who's just trying to make a movie was stupid. What they did to him was stupid. What happened with Whedon and Cyborg was stupid. Ray Fisher went through a terrible experience. So enough is enough. I want to close the book on this whole thing. So the one thing I will say, because I think it's the funniest way to put it, is for all those toxic Snyder fans out there who are like, oh, we can make a change, we can make a rally. You know what I love telling them that they don't realize is that the only other time that I can remember this happening where fans rallied together and made a major studio make a picture that otherwise didn't deserve to be made was 2005 when Whedon fans got together and got Serenity made because Firefly was canceled. And I love the irony of this. It's so lost on people where they go, like, Snyder fans think like, oh my God, we started a movement. We're the first ones to do this. And I go, actually, Whedon fans did that in 2005. So, kind of now I just want to be
pre-Twitter too, bitches.
Exactly. Well said. Yeah, exactly. So part of me just kind of laughs at that fact. And anybody who's going to be toxic about this, I just go, well, you're a Whedon fan? Because, actually he got that done like a long time ago. So, but yeah, no, I'm done with this whole thing. I want Warner Brothers to reset. I want them to bring in a different vision, because I don't think Snyder ever had a vision. Like, just reset, try it again. We're all going to go see these movies because we all love this stuff anyways. So you can take chances, but this is not the avenue you need to keep, traveling down. It's done. So.
No, yeah, Gabe, you touch on like a perfect point with like the fan base toxicity and just overall how everyone's just been impacted by the hashtag release of Snyder Cut movement. Because if I'm gonna be frank, dude, there's a reason why I haven't posted my general thoughts and opinions on Twitter about this movie. There's a reason why I haven't really spoken to anyone about my general thoughts and opinions on this movie. It's because honestly, man, it's not that I'm scared. It's more like I'm nervous that one of those like super toxic, and dude, when I say toxic, bro, there's a bunch of people that I've seen. Some of them just been like, kill yourself over a movie. And I'm just like, bro, I don't need a whole flood of people telling me to kill myself just because I don't think this movie is as good as they think it is. And they're the type of people that I feel like that would go back to like my past tweets and show me having a negative tweet on the Snyder Cut previous producer and be like, oh, you were always bound to hate this, so your opinion's invalid. So they just try to bring down your opinion and what you generally thought because,
that's too much.
Oh man, they helped quote unquote make this movie.
That's too much.
And they have this whole valid excuse of, we make this, we say what goes, we say what's good, what's not. And honestly, man, I just did want to deal with that and to see what it was like before the
this
movie
generation's
really
Make America Great Again is Make America Great Again.
Negativity towards it blew my mind to only believe what would happen after the movie came out and people threw their opinions on it.
Can I say one more thing about this whole toxic fan base? Ahead. Can I say anybody that posts in their Twitter, like whatever you want to call it, their Twitter bio, that they're, what do they call it, contributing producer to Zack Snyders Justice, associate producer? Can I just say that's this generation's like Make America Great Again hat? Like, you know what it...
I agree.
I'm saying that purely as a Canadian that I've had enough of like. But how many people did you see like of that same age? Like how many people under the age of like, let's say 40 did you see wearing a Make America Great Again hat? But like these guys, like these teenagers, even they relish in the fact that I'm an associate producer, and I'm just like,
yeah. But they came back with one movie to close it out, and that was it. The problem.
I mean, the thing is like it's not the first, like you said before, though. I'm actually going to steal the Joss Whedon thing because it's not the first time fans have got this done. It's not the second time, not the third time. Like if you look at like Family Guy. Family Guy was dead after season 3. That came back. Arrested Development.
Another Star Trek. The original Star Trek, right?
Star Trek. Yeah. I mean, this happens time and time again, but time and time again, it is rare that it actually leads to something that is a long-term thing. Family Guy is the only excuse that I know. Arrested Development came back for like one season that was so bad they had to recut it. Serenity ended at Serenity, right? Like most. Yeah.
I mean, they did it for Community.
Right.
No, yeah. And I remember when Zach was talking about just the culmination of the ending of this film and what it meant going forward, how it would end, would it end with a conclusion? Like, would we feel satisfied? And honestly, the dude said we'd feel satisfied. I don't know why I believed him for one fucking second. Because, dude, that was probably the biggest spur of bullshit I've seen in my life. The fact that you have the audacity to say that and then have that reshot, not reshot, but tacked on scene that you shot during the pandemic be your final entire scene almost, dude, get the fuck out of here.
Are you talking about the
This
Martian
movie was
Manhunter one with Batman?
yeah, that was reshot, and the
Oh, the
nightmare
nightmare
scene.
one. Gotcha.
Those are both reshot, and to have both those be at the end, like, dude, don't try and bullshit me that this is a conclusive ending and he's making it seem as if we're not going to want more. Like, bro, you know exactly what you're doing. He's even said it to the fans. People have said, how is there a way we can get a sequel? He said the numbers. Like, bro, it's very obvious that he's feeding the fans while also trying to appease the people that keep saying that he's feeding into it. Because
Yeah.
at the end of
Yeah,
the day,
I agree with
I
that.
don't believe this would keep going on unless he stopped feeding them. Because I feel like every week or every few weeks or so, I feel like I see fucking Snyder saying something on Vero answering someone's question. Next thing you know, everyone's just like, man, release the Snyder Cut 2.0. Like, dude, sit the fuck down. If you're gonna reshoot the ending, especially, and first off, this wasn't even that big of a cliffhanger, as big as he said it'd be, first of all. And second of all, if you're going to reshoot your ending, dude, and you know you're not coming back for a sequel, have the fucking audacity to fucking end it, dude. Don't tease me. Don't make me want more, because he knows exactly what his audience wants. He knows exactly what he's trying to do. And it just angers me.
Yeah.
Man, that dude, that like took a good breath out of me. But before we wrap things up, there's one other big question that we didn't really touch on too much that seemed to be a really hyped thing going into this film, but seems to fall pretty flat on its face. And I hate to say it, but that's Darkseid in this movie. I think Darkseid was pretty useless when it comes to him physically appearing outside of the beginning fight scene between him and the world, kind of. Everything else, I feel like he could have just done over a fucking voice monitor or that little silhouette rock that they kept terraforming on wherever that was. But yeah, dude, Darkseid did not feel threatening in this movie either. I did not feel for one second he was going to be the person to come down and completely decimate this planet. Like, bro, he said he conquers what, 50,000 worlds, millions of worlds, or something like that. Like, bro, I do not believe that for a second. If they really wanted me to believe that this dude was like the ruler of all worlds, I feel like they should have shown like a good lengthy
I
scene in the
agree. I
beginning of
think, I mean,
Darkseid
he looks
taking over
intimidating. The
planets.
look is
And the way the
pretty
actor
solid. Better than
for Darkseid,
Steppenwolf,
Ray
yeah.
Porter, hyped
But
up
I think
his
they kind
role
of
and
messed it up
portrayal
because in his
in this
first
movie, along with
appearance,
Zach, just
he
kind
loses
of
the
seemed
battle
like,
really bad.
I don't want to say
Like
robbed, but
they
like
cut
I
almost
just wasn't
his arm
satisfied
off, and then he's
with
like
Darkseid
electrocuted by
being in this film.
Zeus or something.
Especially,
And,
I hate to
and I
compare to
get what they're
Marvel
saying.
again,
You know,
but
he's fighting
seeing what
gods
Marvel did with
among
Thanos, who's
men, and that's
arguably
fine.
not
But
as big of a
they
villain
don't
as
do a good
Darkseid
job
is.
of
Like,
making
when you think of a
intimidating if he loses
massive
the first
build
battle
up
he
or team
fights.
up
I think
villain,
that
usually a
was
lot of
not
people
a
do
good
think of
call.
Darkseid. But nowadays, when you X that, who's everyone gonna fucking say? Thanos. And I feel like they really scooch the pooch on Darkseid, but I definitely want to get more of your thoughts on this, guys. Yeah, he looks intimidating. Exactly.
I mean, you can do people fighting gods and it work. Look at Thanos fighting Thor. Like if you look at Infinity War, it does a good job at that, right? It shows actually Thor probably could have beat Thanos in Infinity War, but it shows a big fight going on, and they really skip that. And I mean, I don't know. I think you're right, Ryan. I think it was kind of a squandered opportunity because we're not going to get any more movies. If this were like that 10-second introduction of the big baddie that we're going to see a year or two down the road, then I might have been more accepting of it. But at this point, like I know I'm not getting any more. I don't really want any more. It's kind of like I was talking about the Flash earlier. It doesn't destroy the movie for me. It doesn't make the movie bad for me, but it also doesn't add anything to the movie except to that additional 4-hour runtime.
It's just there,
yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
And
it should have come earlier. I mean, that's exactly we've all talked about how things need to be earned with this universe that were never earned. And if it had come 2 films before where we get that standoff, like even in Batman v Superman, if we got a standoff that they had on either side of the portal, I'd kind of like, okay, they're building things up. But yeah, being the first Justice League movie, I was just kind of like, yeah, right. There it is. And then he kind of goes, well, back to the drawing board, right? And then they have to, like, I don't know, rally the troops and do whatever they need to do for the next movie, which isn't going to happen. So, like you said, yeah, it was kind of like lackluster. I did like seeing him and Granny Goodness and Desaad a little bit because at least it created some richness because it was the first time this universe really had any of that. Like I felt for the first time, okay, I'm actually seeing the DC universe because before this, it just always seemed so episodic. You know what I mean? Like everybody kind of had their own movies, and it wasn't even like the Avengers, which had a thread, which was like, oh, it's leaning somewhere. Even the introductory movies for like Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman, they just all felt so disconnected that I never felt like this was a universe. So to add this, like, oh, it's not only the planet that has all of these people on it, it's the absolute universe of these characters. That was the first time I got a sense of seeing that since I was a kid, and like watched the original Justice League animated, right? Where I just kind of went, oh yeah, there are these other characters out there that I really wanted to see. So I give it a little bit of credit, but not that much. It's a good setup, but yeah, again, what's it a setup for? Like, who cares at this point?
Yeah, let me throw a real curveball at you guys real quick that I was just reminded of yesterday. Now, when this movie was first announced with its other 2 sequels, this movie, Justice League, the first one, was meant to be split into 2 parts. Now, let's think if this is the movie we were supposed to get, how would you guys feel if this was split into 2 parts? I can tell you right now, it would not have worked a single fucking bit.
I agree. It would
Well,
not
I
have
mean,
worked
I
at all.
think
This movie could not be split into
I
2
don't.
parts.
I don't
BVS could be
think
split
the
into 2
movie
parts. I
that
could easily see
the
BVS being split
nightmare
into 2 parts. It
sequence
should have
is
been. This
teasing would
movie,
have been
I
a Justice
mean,
League
what would
movie
the 2
because
parts have
most of
been?
the Justice
Flash.
League people are
Here's the
dead,
only way you could
except
have
for
made that
Batman and a
work
whole bunch of
is
side
if
characters.
they failed.
Uh,
The world went into Zack Snyder's like chaos apocalyptic world. Flash figures out how to travel back in time and then travels back in time to that exact moment. Maybe you could make that work. But the main reason you couldn't make what I just said work is it's the plot line of fucking Endgame. So, like, Warner Brothers would never greenlight that, hopefully, in their right mind.
So, Gabe, I'm glad you touched on that. No, I'm glad you touched on that. So the original plan for the three trilogy arc was the first movie was they defeat Steppenwolf, and the ending was, from what I gather, the same. They come head to head with Darkseid where they see each other in the teleporters. And then I don't know if at the end of the first film or the beginning of the second one, Darkseid comes to Earth and kind of just said demolishes everybody. And that second film would be the entire um alternate universe dark timeline. And then the end, I don't know if it'd be the ending or the introduction to the third act of the film, is when the Flash runs back in time to the BVS point scene where he warns Batman about Lois. And then they pull an end game actually and bring all the dead people back by the Flash running back in time.
I think you're
wonder where he got where that came up again.
Yeah, you're projecting a lot of continuity, consistency that Zack Snyder does not have.
Oh no, I got that backwards. They were going to his planet to defeat him. He didn't come to Earth. They wanted to get the head start of him in the beginning of the second film to defeat him because they knew he was coming, but he actually defeated them once they came to him. Then he came down to Earth because they had no more protectors, took over the world, and then that's where we see the Nightmare storyline. And the third one would be the cliffhanger after he runs back in time, like, oh shit, what actually happened? And I guess like a whole Flashpoint type of thing would kind of happen. And then, oh look, they defeat Darkseid. But honestly, I feel like that'd be just too soon to defeat Darkseid, but that's just me.
I think that they would just need to do so much work to make all of that happen.
Yeah. Doesn't own. Yeah. Holy crap, dude. Talking about this film is literally a fucking exercise. And I knew it would be, honestly. A 4-hour film with 4 people. Honestly, that was going to be a pun, but I couldn't think of a good pun to go with 4,
I think for me, it really worked. I mean, to me, I'd give it a 9.5 to me.
What your general
but if I was going to recommend it to somebody,
what would you grade the film overall? Let's start with
that is not a fan of these kinds of movies.
If I'm gonna, let's do it out of 10 because
let's do that.
I need the extra leg room
using
here.
CGI to help a lady.
Honestly, I would probably give it like a 7.5.
If you're not the kind of fan person that I am,
I don't think it was a bad movie.
It's a 7.
It's not something I would watch again.
It's like a coin
but it was something
like
that
you might like it,
entertained
you might not. And it's right there to me.
It had a little bit more work. I definitely could see this movie rivaling most Marvel movies, actually. But in the state that it's in, I would give it like a 7.5.
Yeah, what about you, Gabe? Damn.
Not completely.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with you, Gabe. What about you, Mike?
5. And I mean, that's a 5. I think it's perfect because, again, by comparison, it's like grading on the bell curve. Yeah, it's better than what you did last time or what they got done. And it's a pass. Like, I don't feel like I was completely ripped off of 4 hours of my life. So that's good. But no, maybe in about an hour and a half of that, I would walk back.
Only the 20% of slow motion.
That's exactly it. So the good thing is, if I ever do watch it again, because you were asking about that, I could just hit fast forward or play it at like double speed, and then it will feel like an actual watchable film again. But yeah, I mean, like it's a 5. It's passable for sure.
Oh God,
it's better.
John, we have to watch that one for Cinespection.
I get tired of people using hyperbolic phrases like that. Oh, it's a masterpiece.
Yes.
Compared to what?
Yeah, so
right?
people click on it thinking we're talking about the Avengers.
I wouldn't recommend it, but anybody who knows me who's
John.
looking for movie recommendations knows that I'm probably not going to recommend a Zack Snyder movie 9 times out of 10 anyway. So it's just one of those kind of like, yeah, it was better. Like, did you watch the first one? People say yes. I go, well, then you need to watch this one. But if people are like, what's the first comic book movie I should watch? This would be like, not dead last, but definitely in the bottom 7. I would say out of all the comic book movies out of there, I'd go, yeah, maybe that's one of the last ones.
Is that including the Avengers from like 1996 with like?
You sparked an idea. Nah. Don't put the year either. Just put the title. Really fuck with them. No, but honestly, guys, I agree with all your points. Yeah, honestly, this movie is a not a recommend in my book. I would recommend it for people that know everything about no, I wouldn't say everything about the Snyder Cut, but have like followed it thoroughly with BVS Man of Steel. I would recommend it to them, but I feel like everyone that's watched those is just watching Justice League already at this point, or Zack Snyder's Justice
I give
League.
it a 9.
So
to me, it was. To me, as a person that likes these kind of movies, to me, it really worked.
More than likely not knowing what's going on if they've never seen any of these DCEU movies in their life. At least with, let's say, Avengers Infinity War, you could oddly piece together what's happening. But I feel like with Zack Snyders Justice League, if it's hard for people that have been following this film since almost 2013, the whole universe in general, and we still can't even figure out what's going on, I think it's just going to be.
It really is not as bad as you remember.
Awful
it
for
really
the people
isn't.
going into this for the first time. And Mike, I think 5 is a little low. And John, I think 7's a little too high, or 7.5 is a little too high.
How about 9? He gave it a 9.
Yeah, Gabe gave it a 9.
Yeah, but 9.
Yeah.
Oof. Gabe could hang on. In all of our defense, Gabe actually told me that I needed to watch Justice League again, like the original 2017 version, way before this. He actually liked it.
I won't lie. I've been considering going back to it just to like watch it and be like, wait a second, see like what all the difference is, just out of curiosity, man.
I watched it. It's just, don't listen to Gabe. It is just as bad. I watched it 2 days. I watched it 2 days before this, and I think I messaged Gabe and was like, "This is a giant pile of shit." Like it just is.
How dare you do that to him, Gabe? But this movie, it's really awkward. I think it's got a lot to offer, but then it's also got a lot to go against what it's offering at the same time. Yeah. I go back and forth between 6.5 and 7. I'm feeling a little bit nicer tonight. I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10 for this movie. I feel like Zack does do a lot of good things that improve on the original. I don't want to say the original, but the theatrical cut of Justice League from 2017. But also, while fixing those issues with that cut, he also finds loopholes.
Also find me at Cinespection with John. We do that every week, and we've been recently. We talked a lot about Zack Snyder movies, but that's not what we usually talk about. We like to talk about like old movies that, like the Avengers 1996. Just this week, we talked about Godzilla 1998. It was so much fun.
I just want to know, John, where can we find you? That was a lot
of fun. So make sure to check that out if you want to know.
So you can find me weekly on the Painted Lines on their YouTube channel. Our show is Cinespection. You can also follow us on Twitter at Cinespection. You can also follow me at Joffert. That's JOHFIRTH.
I do write
on Twitter. And I don't tweet much, but I do a lot of the podcasting stuff. So you're probably going to hear me more than read me.
Like spitting out thoughts.
And that's how he likes it.
I try to organize it better when I write it.
And what about you, my man, Mike?
Well, I like to consider myself the best kept secret on YouTube. So you can find me on YouTube at Reel School, so REEL School. You can follow me on Twitter on the same thing. I'm also managing editor of filmspeak.net. So some of the things that I don't create into video essays, because I'm kind of getting away from my video reviews. I don't really like reviewing movies anymore. But yeah, all my reviews I actually write now for filmspeak.net. Lots of cool interviews, and I'm also the host of Vocal Cues, which is a podcast that interviews voice actors, and the second season should be out this summer, so stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Thank you guys for not only listening to us mumble, jumble, and bullshit for the past 2 hours and 15 minutes, but I want to thank my awesome guests for coming on and talking about this monumental film that will easily go down in history for probably the rest of our lives. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Backroom podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.